What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Wrestlemania 36. We are finally here at the two-night events, and we are also here with the pandemic Wrestlemania. So obviously, when I was watching this, I tried to rate this as fairly as I possibly could. I tried to rate this with the knowledge that there were no fans involved, and so I really tried to look at these through a lens of like the fans didn't matter, the fans didn't affect it, but unfortunately it's impossible to do. The lack of fans clearly hurt a lot of these matches, and we're going to get into that as we go through here. But again, it is a long card. We are going to go ahead and review both nights in one, mostly because of time, I'll be fully honest with you, but also it's still technically one WrestleMania. Two main events. I still count both Night 1 and Night 2 as main eventing WrestleMania. They are still 4-hour pay-per-views. So I still count them as two WrestleManias, but it is technically WrestleMania 36. It's just Night 1 and Night 2. So we're going to review it all together in one. But let's go ahead and get started. As always, my ratings are 10 through 0. Rob's ratings are on the side, A through F. Of course, he also adds pluses and minuses to help them match mine. If there is no plus or minus, then I typically assume it's the bottom one, but it depends on the match and conversations that me and Rob have had outside of that. So let's go ahead and get started with WrestleMania Night 1. The women's tag team titles, Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane, who are the champions coming in. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross going on to win. It's so, obviously this is the opening match, right? So this is the match where not only are you, the crowd, trying to feel out how this is going to work without fans, but the wrestlers themselves are also trying to feel out how this is going to be without fans. Like, how much do you talk? Do you allow yourself to tell a story through your conversation, which we see a lot later on? When the crowds are dead, the atmosphere is still there, right? So even in a WrestleMania match where there's no crowd, it hurts the match, but there's still an atmosphere there, right? Here, there is no crowd to help or hurt the matches. It's just them. It's just their voices. It's their mannerisms. It's the action. And honestly, it's really hard to tell a story without the crowd being there to get invested into it. The high-impact Kabuki Warriors dominate this match for the first half. Nikki Cross does get a chance to excel. Here, she looks, honestly, amazing here. It's got to be so hard on them to keep themselves engaged, keep in character, keep the match looking good. I love Kairi Sane's elbow. I've always loved it. I love it even more now. It looks phenomenal every time she uses it. The second half of this match is absolutely amazing. Great back and forth, elbows breaking up a pin, Twisted Bliss breaks up a pin. For no atmosphere or crowd to hype up, these four did a great job. They made this match work. Nikki shows great resiliency in the finish. Twisted Bliss takes out Kairi and Alexa, and Nikki win the titles. Definitely hurt by lack of crowd, but without it, the match was good. It was basically as entertaining as these four could make it. The beginning was rough. You could tell they didn't know how much noise to make, what they could say. They're trying to call the match in ways without actually saying the spots because they can't. We'll hear it. So they're obviously doing little like mannerisms and twists and kind of like how they're stepping. I guess they had like sort of like hand gestures, if you will. And you can kind of notice it at the beginning if you watch carefully. It didn't hurt the match, but without a crowd, I'm focusing on things I wouldn't normally focus on, and that was one of them. So I gave this match a 6 out of 10. I thought it was good, not great. Hard to say if it could have been better with the crowd, but Rob agrees, gave this match a C+ as well, so that is where we are going as soon as I can find them on this absolutely bloated card here. Next up, we have Elias and King Corbin. The opening dialogue by Corbin lands so flat without a crowd to boot or cheer. Elias controls early, Corbin controls middle and late, gives an amazing trash talk. He was great at portraying his voice without a crowd here. With a crowd, I think this match would have probably been above average. I legit do. Without one, they couldn't really do much. You could tell the story they were trying to tell here, and it just did not work without a crowd. It isn't bad, but it's not spectacular. It's below average because there isn't any heat on these two. The story wasn't great going in. The feud is weak. There isn't any highlight spots. The finish is a roll-up pin, so I gave this match a 4 out of 10. Rob was even crueler, gave this match a 3. The 0.5 rule is going to bump it up to a 4, but that is where it's going to be, and honestly probably where it should be. 3 or 4. Either way would work. Next up we have Becky Lynch, who was the champion, coming in versus Shayna Baszler for the Raw Women's title. Knowing that Becky Lynch was pregnant during this match makes the pace make a bit more sense, but that doesn't make it good. It probably makes this match an even less of a good idea because Becky ends up winning the match. She said in her book that she wanted to put Shayna Baszler over here, and they refused to let her do that, so thanks Vince for not only fucking up Shayna Baszler's push, but also wasting a WrestleMania win. Why give it to Becky Lynch if she's pregnant and going to have to give up the title anyway, and B, she wanted to give it up anyway? Like, this, a double whammy against this match solely because of that. The fact that Becky was pregnant during it, the only spot of real note was Becky getting tossed between the ring and the announce table, and that made me gasp. But no, but of course, I know she's pregnant. When this match happened, you didn't, but lots of submission attempts. The work rate was decent given the situation, but this match wasn't given enough time. And if they knew Becky was pregnant and would be vacating the title, again, as I said, winning here doesn't make sense. Overall, the finish, lack of time, no crowd, slower pace, this match is a 4 out of 10. Rob slightly disagreed, gave this match a 5 out of 10, said it was kind of a straight up average match. So I am going to obviously go ahead and bump this up to a 5 because of that 0.5 rule. It's going to average out to a 4.5. It'll get bumped up, so we'll go there. Next up, we have Sami Zayn with Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro flanking him, who was the champion coming in, versus Daniel Bryan with Drew Gulak for the Intercontinental title. An odd collection of allies here with Shinsuke, Cesaro, and Sami. Sami plays the cowardly heel. He takes up half the match doing it. That is not an engaging match with no crowd. Again, this one was very story-heavy, less action-focused, but again, with no crowd to get invested into the action and the story, there's no point in it. Bryan runs and grabs him into the ring. The side characters get involved with each other, and eventually Bryan walks into a haluva kick. This was easily the worst with Daniel Bryan match I've ever seen. It's a shame that they didn't give Sami Zayn anything to work with here. Again, no crowd to chant yes. It just takes so much out of this match, and you really realize that that chant was very vital to Daniel Bryan's career. The match overall is boring. It's a stalemate that never gets going into the second gear. I gave this match a 3 out of 10. I didn't like this match at all. Crowd, no crowd, it just wasn't good. I don't even know if a crowd could have saved this match, to be perfectly honest with you. Rob disagrees. I guess he was more invested into the story than I was. Gave this match a C. So that 5 is going to end up making this a 4 out of 10 rather than a 3 out of 10 that I gave it. So yeah, that is where we will go ahead and put it. Next up, we have the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Title Ladder Match with Morrison representing Morrison and Miz, who were the champions coming in, Jimmy Uso representing the Usos, and Kofi Kingston representing New Day. Again, Morrison would end up winning this match. So the reason this match was changed to a triple threat ladder match is pretty interesting. They made the change because The Miz got sick about 5 days before WrestleMania, based on what I was able to look. It might have been a week, but it was not very long, and they did not want to risk him coming back because while he was testing negative for COVID, this is the very beginning of the pandemic, you can't take any chances. He was sick, he was out. They didn't want to throw away the match, they had already been working on stuff, so instead, they turned this into a triple threat match with one party representing both teams. It produced, arguably, the best match of the night. An absolute phenomenal match between these three. If the crowd was here, they probably would have blown the roof off the place, and this probably would have been an A match. Just the three of them. So many great spots. Morrison's Spanish Fly was beautiful. All the high flying moves off of ladders. The sound of the ladders was brain scratching. It was brain scratching. You gotta watch this match. Just for it's gonna sound so weird to say this, but watch this match just for the ladder sounds. You'll understand. The selling was electric. Most of this match was done on the fly due to how recently Miz got sick, so they put this really good match together, relatively short notice. Phenomenal ladder match that finally added some fire to this event that was sorely needed. Also, again, as I said, the clicking of the ladders, the loud impact that the ladders made in such a closed arena, like when bodies would land on it, when ladders would connect with each other. It was so much fun. to listen to. A great match, amazing finish, super creative. All three end up unclipping the titles from the top thing. While they're fighting over it, Kofi and Jimmy have the actual contraption they're hanging on. They go to pull. John Morrison is holding on to the two titles, so he falls off the ladder onto another ladder. So another bump. He's holding the two titles while they're holding the contraption they're strapped to. Genius fucking ending to make it so Morrison would still win and make it so all three competitors left here looking strong. I gave this match an 8 out of 10. It was only missing a crowd. If they had a crowd, this match would have been a 9 or 10. And that's just that. I know I said before that I was going to try to judge this without it, but I learned about 5 matches in. Really, I learned 1 match in. Just wasn't possible. You have to rate it as it is. This match is still an 8 out of 10. Rob agrees. Gave this match a B+, so 8 out of 10 for him as well. That's where it's going to be. Next up, you have Kevin Owens versus Monday Night Messiah Seth Rollins in a no DQ match. Eventually. It wasn't originally. It was a normal match to start. A fantastic back and forth between the two men. Great pacing and emotion, especially given no crowd. This was the pinnacle of the no crowd storytelling. Kevin Owens is one of the best in-match trash talkers there is. Seth Rollins is an amazing heel here, going back and forth with Kevin Owens. The match initially ends in a DQ as Seth hits KO with the timekeeper bell. Owens then instigates him into restarting the match as a no DQ match, because again, kind of picking on Seth Rollins' ego here. Steel stairs and chairs into the picture, and by God are the shots louder with no crowd in this small enclosed arena. KO beats Seth with the ring bell, then leaps off the fucking Wrestlemania sign onto Seth, who's laid out on the announce table. The groans and moans of pain are pretty damn intense in this match. It sounds like they're fucked up, which adds so much to this match. Kevin Owens rolls him into the ring for the stunner to end the Messiah, and by God, what a match. Used every inch of the Performance Center. Great use of no fans. I love this match. I gave this match a 9 out of 10. Rob didn't like this match quite as much as the Triple Threat match, even though I thought it was better, so he gave this a 7 out of 10. It is going to end up balancing out to another 8, but it's still a phenomenal match and a card that I was very much worried about in terms of actual wrestling matches. And I say that for a reason, and we're going to get to that soon. Next up, we have Braun Strowman versus Goldberg, who is the champion coming in for the Universal title. Braun Strowman would win. Goldberg hits 4 spears. Strowman kicks out. Strowman hits 4 power slams. Goldberg down for the 3 count. Yep, that's it. That's the whole match. I just told you every single spot in the match. Lots of yelling. A couple misses early. A couple, counters and stuff like that, but no actual moves from the counters. It's 4 spears, kick out, 4 power slams, 3 count. That's it. 2 out of 10. That's literally nothing else to talk about because there's literally nothing else here. Rob agrees. D, 2 out of 10. Really unfortunate, but you know what? At least Goldberg isn't holding the title, so there's a positive. And finally, we have the main event of night 1. Undertaker versus AJ Styles in a Boneyard match. This match is a fucking movie. We call modern wrestling cinema. The Bloodline storyline is cinema, etc. This was literally the definition of cinema. An absolute masterpiece, a true send-off of the Undertaker character. AJ and the OC, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows, were excellent in their roles. Arguably the best the OC has looked in general. It was perfect. I loved every single moment of this. During the pandemic, we needed entertainment. This delivered it then. It delivered it now. Obviously, from a wrestling perspective, there wasn't much. There was some good offense used, but it was clear that you're cutting for camera angle changes. It's clear that you're obviously repositioning yourself. Luke Gallows was not thrown off the top of that fucking building onto concrete. He was obviously thrown onto a pad and it was removed and he laid on concrete when the camera changed angles. We're not stupid, okay? We're not dumb. But it looked cool as shit, and it sounded cool as shit, and that's what wrestling should be about. Especially a match like this. It truly leaned into the supernatural being of Undertaker with him being in the ground, and then all of a sudden he's behind AJ Styles with the light on. It's a great fucking scene. It's a great spot. It's fantastic. Just top to bottom fantastic. Honestly, this set out with a single goal in mind, to send The Undertaker off in a way that made him look strong and truly encapsulate the character, and it accomplished that goal. I gave it a 10 out of 10. This match was phenomenal, and this is the type of match they should have had on this card, and they did. Like I said, 10 out of 10. Rob gave it an A, so even if you meant a 9, it's still going to end up being a 10 because of that 0.5 rule with me. Absolute banger on this card, makes up for the previous match, which was a 2. And that's the end of night 1. Let's go ahead and change Rob's card, and we will go ahead and pick up night 2. Night 2 kicks off with Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley, who is the champion, the NXT Women's Champion. Now, I wasn't too crazy about Charlotte Flair competing for the NXT Women's title, and I'm also not crazy about the fact that she wins this match. Again, she's got to be involved in a title somewhere. She wasn't involved in the 2 Raw and SmackDown titles, so you put her in the NXT title because Charlotte Flair can't miss a WrestleMania, and she can't fight in a match that's not for a title for some reason. So she goes down to NXT and takes the women's title from, honestly, a great up-and-comer. Now, this match did set up the basis for their feud at WrestleMania 39, which was one of the best women's matches of all time. So, I will forgive it in hindsight for that. But this match alone, a phenomenal back and forth that would have been euphoric in front of a live crowd and could have very well rivaled their WrestleMania 39 match if it was in front of a live crowd. An expected and common issue with this entire 2-night card, the lack of crowds hurt it. Luckily, we would get this again in 3 years. A great back and forth, great ring and limb physiology. Both women are amazing sellers, and with a lack of crowd, you can hear all the wails of pain, which made it even more convincing. I loved how Rhea used her power moves, ended up weakening by her own knee, and eventually took herself out effectively when Charlotte hit the figure 8. Her power moves were literally her weakness, and if you go back and watch the WrestleMania 39 match, which most people wouldn't think about, watching all these in a row, if you go back to watch a WrestleMania 39 match, you notice she tries to get a lot more technical with her because in this match, her power ended up costing her in the end. She conserved her power to use at the end of the Mania 39 match. It's a level of storytelling that most people won't pick up on, but nuanced people and people like me that are sitting through 39 WrestleManias in 39 days are going to pick up on it. It was a fantastic spot. Little detail like that. Again, doesn't help this match, but it is something we'll return to at WrestleMania 39. An amazing back and forth with the wrong winner this time, but again, sets up the Mania 39 match. I gave this match a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed this match. Rob gave it an 8, so it is going to be another one that's going to end up balancing out to that 8, but still, there's nothing to shy away from in this match. An 8 is still good. It's still great even. So, great spot for this match. Next up, we have Aleister Black versus Bobby Lashley. Honestly, another match that didn't have a lot of heat on it. Based on my research, it was a match that was just put together on the card. There really wasn't anything going into this. They didn't have much on previous SmackDowns. It was just a thrown-on match. They wanted to give Aleister Black a Mania win. He was kind of getting pushed here at this time. Bobby Lashley and Lana needed something to begin kind of splitting them apart as well. So they kind of used this match for both purposes. Lana barked orders. Lashley was about to body slam him. Lana yelled for the spear instead, saying that it would take out the match. Lashley listened to her and instead ended up running directly into the Black Mass kick. Besides the finish, there wasn't a ton here as they weren't given a ton of time. Good win for Black. Nice to see him as I didn't really get to see him much during his time in WWE. Again, I started watching full time right before WrestleMania 38, so I didn't get to see this WrestleMania live. I enjoyed this match to a degree, but it wasn't great. I liked what I saw, but it wasn't great, so I gave it a 5 out of 10. Rob agrees with me, gave this match a 5 out of 10 as well, so that is where it's going to go. Next up, we have Otis versus Dolph Ziggler, a story that have 100% resounded better in front of fans. And I know you guys are tired of hearing it, but again, it's another match that got hurt by without him. Especially the love everyone has for Otis. They've always kind of had that love for Otis. This match isn't terrible. The two work really well together. It's a contrast of styles, and it's another match that suffers. Again, just being too quiet. Neither one of them are great at talking, so the vocal storytelling isn't optimal here. Which, again, is something that you kind of need in this environment with no crowd, small arena, everything echoes. Side note here, about everything echoing, commentary kept fucking me up because you would hear them in the replays. You would actually hear the tail end of conversations. It was pretty funny. Otis is supposed to fire up. I mean, Otis is a guy who fires up the crowd, right? He does the worm. He does the rope shake. Who's he supposed to fire up? There's no one there. It's unfortunate. Mandy Rose comes out, low blows Ziggler. Otis hits the Caterpillar for the win, and he gets his girl. A surprisingly good match overall. I gave it a 6 out of 10. Rob gave it a C. The 0.5 rule is going to end up bumping this up to a 6. So again, not a terrible match on this card, and we'll go ahead and move on from there. Next up, we have Edge versus Randy Orton in a last man standing match. Edge is finally back in the WWE. Evil Randy is back, at least RKOing Beth Phoenix in the build-up for this match. In a match with no crowd, Randy comes out of nowhere disguised as the cameraman for an early RKO to start the match, hitting another one as soon as the match actually begins and the bell rings. The problem with these last man standing matches in general is that they typically last too long, and there's a lot of dead space while you're waiting for the other guy to get up at 8 or 9. You're setting up the next spot, or you're standing there waiting for them to get up to set up for the next spot. They're also very slow, and this match was both. An extremely genius use of the entire Performance Center. It was effectively a tour of the Performance Center. They literally went to just about every single room to cause some damage and destruction. They even went into a meeting room with people having a meeting, which is pretty funny. Again, when I said these matches take forever, this one decided it was going to top all of them. Almost 40 minutes of a few moves and then 10 seconds of nothing. And then a move or two and then 10 seconds of nothing. And then slamming through a table, then 10 seconds of nothing. Bouncing off of a forklift, then 10 seconds of nothing. And it was a process that honestly after the first 20 minutes I was done with. The finish wasn't good. Again, it got to the point where it wasn't entertaining more. Just repetitive, slow, hard to stay engaged. Edge finally wins on a concerto after a long, drawn-out brawl. 5 of a 10. It just took too long to be good. You chop 10 minutes off this match, and it's probably a 6 or 7, maybe even an 8. Some spots were great. Again, 3/4 into this match, maybe even halfway into this match, I no longer care. I'm not really paying attention to the match anymore because it's completely left its staying right here. So again, I gave this match a 5 out of 10. Rob actually disagrees, slightly gave it a 4 out of 10. That 0.5 rule is going to allow it to stay at a 5, but you can make a case for it to be a 4, and I'd honestly probably agree with you. Next up, we have the Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, who are the champions coming in, versus Angel Garza and Austin Theory with Zelina Vega for the Raw Tag Team Champions. The story behind this match is that basically Austin Theory was a substitute because of an injury. Clearly, the lack of chemistry was part of the story in this match, so it was very clear that the Street Profits were going to win from the beginning. An entertaining but super short bout. Street Profits exude charisma, entertainment, and athleticism. They're allowed to kind of showcase that a little bit. Austin Theory doesn't have it. Angel Garza doesn't have it. Zelina's the only one with the true aura out of that group. The match also isn't given remote time to cook. Garza and Theory, you know, it is nice to see Bianca make an appearance. Nice to see the Street Profits at WrestleMania. Again, these are players now that I love seeing. But this was like their first foray, and it wasn't a very good showing. I gave this match a 4 out of 10. Rob, again, disagrees with me, except for he's actually above me this time, so another match that is going to get 0.5 ruled into the C category. Next up, we have the WWE SmackDown Women's Title Fatal 5-Way Elimination match between Bayley, who would go on to win. She was the champion coming in, versus Lacey Evans, Naomi, Sasha Banks, and Tamina. A fun match that is, without sounding like a broken record, once again hurt by no fans. The story of Bayley and Sasha fighting together, then falling apart, then Bayley becoming Superwoman when Lacey Evans takes her out. It was amazing storytelling, great conversations, great vocal work. But again, man, Sasha and Bayley turning on each other for a brief moment for the first time ever, it would have been a massive pop. And it would have signified a major moment in this match had it happened in front of fans. Imagine if Dakota Kai betrays Io Sky at this year's WrestleMania. That's the kind of pop that you would get from this confrontation, and you don't get it because there's just simply no fans there to do it. I did like all, again, the group elimination of Tamina was fun, but at this point, it's becoming an overused tactic to eliminating larger opponents. It's no longer getting the big pop that I believe it used to when you first saw it. We've seen it countless times now. It's no longer fun to see. Naomi was taken out by Sasha's bank statement. Lacey Evans eliminates Sasha. Bayley ties her to the turnbuckle by the fucking tag rope and beats the shit out of her. It's a really sinister spot. Lacey fights back but gets eliminated by Bayley after Sasha comes back in for a bank statement. Overall, match was fun. A lot more potential here. Not just with or without a crowd, but just the match itself I thought could have cooked for a little bit longer. I gave this match a 6 out of 10. It's still an above average match, so it's still a decent match for that consideration. Rob gave this match a 5 out of 10, so once again, that 0.5 rule is going to come into play here for this WrestleMania. Bump it up to a 6, that 5.5, and we're going to move on to the final two matches. The Fiend versus John Cena in a Firefly Funhouse match. Firefly Funhouse match. Say that 3 times fast. And I think we will say this 3 times fast as I take you to the match review with Rob to discuss one of the most cinematic and, in my opinion, best story-based matches of all time in today's match review. Welcome, everyone, to the COVID special match review.
Yowie, wowie.
Oh, dear God. Here we go. Welcome, everyone, to the WrestleMania 36 match review. Here we are reviewing the John Cena versus Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse match. Now, a controversial match, to be perfectly honest with you, because it's really not a wrestling match. There's only like 4 moves done, and they're all at the very end. And a lot of them are punches that are thrown that Bray Wyatt magically disappears on. But this is a story. This is an atmospheric match. This is a cinematic match, which you saw a couple of them in this event because of how the event was. We had the Boneyard match, and then you had this one. But this one stuck out to me particularly because this one was all about story. And it was a story that because of the situation, John Cena and Bray Wyatt were able to tell it. And it was a story that they co-wrote. And it basically told the story of John Cena's career in a light that most people felt, but no one really talked about until then. So this is my notes on this match. Another cinematic masterpiece, again talking about the Boneyard match beforehand. An extremely artistic piece from the joint mind of Cena and Bray to break down Cena's career and show off the faults in his characters and persona, while also showcasing some of Bray's character flaws. It also peels back the curtain a bit, basically saying the Mania 30 match was a bad booking decision and how Cena politicked his way to beating Bray. They also tease how Cena was just a Hulk Hogan copycat that wasn't as over with the crowd as Hulk was with the NWO entrance that was in this match. It also brings back Cena's promo before this match. This will end the most overhyped superstar in existence. And then Bray hits the sister Abigail and chokes him out after those words are said. The match ends. I'm rating this solely off of entertainment and storytelling because there isn't much wrestling. 10 out of 10. It accomplished exactly what it intended to do in a genius way. The fact Cena helped write this almost makes me feel bad about all the times we booed him, but also respect him for understanding where he made mistakes in his career. Now, you gave this match a B+. Did you give it a B+ because of the lack of wrestling and that was like the most you could give it, or do you think there was holes in the story they were telling?
It was more or less due to the wrestling. Or lack of wrestling. Like, I almost gave it a B because of the lack of wrestling, but then I had to sit there and think about it. I was like, it's COVID. There's certain things that, they just have to kill time. And, much like the Boneyard match, it was a matter of we need something Bray Wyatt's character, dude's a freaking genius when it comes to his own storytelling. And then John Cena was in that, like, director kind of role.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was big in Hollywood. I mean, he still is, but at the time he was real big. And WWE looked at that and was like, oh, we can create a masterpiece with this. And that's exactly what they did.
Oh, absolutely. I like how not everything was in your face, right? So, like, the whole Hulk Hogan thing, the NWO entrance, that's what that was supposed to signify.
I geeked when I saw that.
Yeah, because he was supposed to be like, oh, so it's like calling him the new Hulk Hogan. Because he was always winning. He was always finding a way to win. And he borderline politicked his way. I mean, we've talked about how John Cena is the reason that Alex Riley is no longer in the WWE. Right? John Cena has put a lot of careers on the back burner because he seemed to always have to come out on top. I mean, you literally had him and The Rock main event back-to-back WrestleManias simply because they're the John Cena and The Rock, and neither one of them had any business being there in the first place. Right? Like, that was one of the reasons CM Punk left, was because he got punked, no pun intended, by The Rock and John Cena. So,
did they go over the whole Nexus?
I don't remember that being mentioned, but again, it's still another similar situation where John Cena is the reason that most of those careers died before they had a chance to really blossom. Their one shining moment was getting beat by John Cena in an effective squash match.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the points that both of them were making are perfect. The way they described Cena's career, the way they explained everything, the way that they showcased everything in this match, if you will, or this event, or whatever you want to call it, was
cinematic masterpiece.
It's exactly what it was. I thought Bray Wyatt was excellent in this. The role that he played is sort of like the manipulator behind the scenes that was peeling back the curtain. But it also showcased some of Bray Wyatt's flaws. Like, my career's been hurt because of you beating me at WrestleMania 30, and I haven't been able to fully recover from that as a wrestler, as a character. Like, they showcase that type of stuff about how that match started the downhill spiral of both Bray Wyatt's career and John Cena's reputation. I thought it was a perfect encapsulation of all of that. But if you were to... Because obviously, I've already talked about the Boneyard match. Which one of these two did you prefer? From a cinematic angle, based on the characters involved. And is there anything that this match in particular was missing?
From a cinematic standpoint, I would much rather prefer this match.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you put the cinematic concept for this and put it with the Undertaker Boneyard match, oh my goodness, that's like
we'd have to make a new
that's like a perfect wet dream for wrestling and cinema fans.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because like my client, his mom is real big. She's always been big into wrestling and whatnot. But like my client, he's really big into cinema and whatnot, and he talks about the breakdown and certain things that go into the production value, how they go about certain things. And so while he's not the biggest wrestling fan, I feel like if he were to look at that, he could have the real big appreciation of both worlds. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So again, going on to the second question here, what was this match missing?
What was it missing?
In terms of like, was there something that that they could have added to this match, a part of Bray's career, a part of John Cena's career that you would have liked to have seen them tackle in this fashion? You've mentioned the Nexus. That would probably be one.
Yeah, the Nexus. I mean, to be honest, add just a little bit more wrestling
Maybe,
instead of the very end.
The very
4
end.
moves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would say I would have liked for John Cena to admit that he had effectively ended careers.
I don't think they went over it, but you know how Cena in interviews has gone, you know, before I had the Doctor of Thugonomics gimmick, I was about to be fired. You know, I wish
They did mention that a little bit.
they did.
The very beginning was him in his OG outfit. And about how he needed more ruthless aggression or else he was going to get fired.
Yeah, well, I wish they would have like played like a snippet or like made like a flashback snippet of it. You know what I mean? Of like
maybe a couple of things they could have done there, but I think the Nexus is the biggest miss.
Yeah,
because I don't know if they really showcased too much about how John Cena's character ruined careers. Didn't really talk about that too much. And when it comes to Hulk Hogan, when it comes to Roman Reigns isn't ruining careers. Hulk Hogan didn't ruin careers and didn't really have a lot to have careers back then. But Hulk Hogan, when he beat somebody, didn't single-handedly end their career. They continued to do stuff afterwards. There's people that John Cena fought that they don't exist anymore in the WWE because they couldn't shine with John Cena. I mean, hell, Roman Reigns almost didn't become what he did because of that promo he did against John Cena. Now, that's not entirely a bad thing. I think John Cena is a great benchmark to put in front of a rising superstar to say, hey, if you want to reach the top, you got to hang with the big dog. I'm completely fine with that now. But there's a lot of wrestlers that they weren't ready for that yet, and they put him in it too soon. And they sunk. Whereas you have LA Knight that was put into a program with John Cena and he excelled. So maybe Cena's turned over a new leaf. Maybe this experience with this match helped him realize that and helped him turn over a new leaf.
But LA Knight could definitely hold his own on the
No, 100%. But it's still a sign of like of that progress that we're talking about here. So any closing remarks before we end this off here?
Nah.
I think we've pretty much exhausted this match here. So, yowie wowie.
Let me in.
And then go back to me. And welcome back, friends. Last but not least, well, of course, you know, I gave this match a 10 out of 10. I loved it. Rob ended up giving this match a B+, so it's going to end up averaging out to a 9. That's completely fine. I am completely okay with it being there, as I stated there with Rob, but we are going to go ahead and move on to the main event. Last but not least, we have Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar, who is the champion for the WWE title. Drew McIntyre would go on to win. This is the iconic win for Drew McIntyre that he talks about now during his current build with Seth Rollins. But this match sucked in general. 4-minute finisher spam. It's clear that Brock Lesnar didn't want to be here. You can always tell because he clearly doesn't give a shit to put on a good match. Happy Drew got his title, but this wasn't good. Believable? Sure. Good? No. 3 out of 10. Rob agrees, gave it a D, so the final match of the card is going to go into that D category, which has become pretty synonymous for a lot of Brock Lesnar main events in general. So, while this card has a million fucking matches on it, we have officially gone through them all, so let me go ahead and calculate it and see what this WrestleMania actually averages out to. This extremely large 16-match card averages out to a 5.89. So again, not a terrible card, great spot on the card. Obviously it's going to be a longer review, simply because it's 16 matches long. But that will be the same, really, for the next 4 WrestleManias. So strap in, guys, and I will see you all tomorrow for WrestleMania 37 with fans back in the stadium.